Hello, Labbers, and welcome back to Preschool Project. I hope you all had a really great winter break. I know I did. I really needed the break and the rest, and now I'm ready to jump back into school. So I hope you all are in the same boat. So I just wanted to film this introduction for this semester to kind of break down how the structure might look for Preschool Project and also give some background as a reminder for everybody. So if you are watching this video, that means that you were in Preschool Project in fall 2020. So if you're new, you're going to be repeating what everybody else did in the fall, just to give you a really strong background. And if you already did fall, you're going to be doing this semester. So if that's the case, you're on the right video. If not, go back to the fall 2020 videos and I'll be in contact with an updated timeline for you guys. For everybody who is a returner, you should have gotten an email from me which breaks down some of this information. So make sure that you check your email and review all of that, just to make sure that you've checked all of your bases before we get into this video. All right, so as a review, what is Preschool Project? It is one of the underlying areas of the Child 3 lab. So here you can see that we have the Child 3 lab, which is the lab logistics. Sometimes I'll refer to it as like a general lab meeting, meaning that sometimes we'll have like a monthly meeting or bi-monthly meeting where all of these different areas of lab will meet together to discuss Child 3 lab in general, and the PhD students and Dr. Pruitt, who runs the lab, will be there and give really great insight into what's going on with the lab in general, which can help give you some perspective into why this lab is so important, because it fits in as a puzzle piece to this whole bigger picture. So you can see here, there are some other areas of lab. So there's lab buddies and grad school prep, telelab outreach, which kind of is the community area of the lab. So Savannah might reach out to ask about if you want a lab block. And so for us, usually the small groups are our lab block, because it's a set period of time where you're meeting with other members of lab and discussing things and working on lab things. But if you do want even more community, Savannah has offered to let you guys have a lab block. So if you think that it would be beneficial to have a set time where you're working on projects, or where you can check in to the Slack app and see if any of the other lab leads need help with anything, that's a really great way to build up more hours and just be more involved with the lab in general if you feel like you're lacking that community. And I know that a lot of people are right now with COVID and distance learning. Some people aren't on campus. Some people are having to quarantine, and they might feel like they're missing out on some of the social aspects of college, which I completely understand and can relate to. So if you feel like you would benefit from that, please reach out to me or Savannah, and we can definitely get you involved with a lab block. And with that being said, we have decided to make Preschool Project worth 1 credit hour this semester if you're taking it for credit and not as a volunteer. So if you signed up for 2 credits and want 2 credits, you can become involved in another aspect of lab. And in that case, you would have to have a lab block. And if you are currently signed up for 2 credits, but you would prefer to be in 1, or you thought that 2 was required of you, but you only wanted to be in 1, you can reach out to Rhea, but do that ASAP, like today, to let her know to switch you over to 1. You also can remain signed up into and just start banking up extra hours and join another area of lab. So here you can see the other areas of lab you can get involved with, like English productivity training, coding, transcription, caregiver workshops, and preschool testing. And getting involved in those areas of lab are going to give you a bigger view. As I mentioned earlier, it's like different pieces of a puzzle fitting together for the bigger picture. And it can also give you some really great training and experience before you go out into whatever you're wanting to do, whether that's being a SLIPA, going to grad school, to be an SLP, or any other major. Um, Caregiver workshops is a great thing to get involved with because that's just essential information. Learning how to communicate information to people who are not familiar with your jargon. So, like the kind of lingo that we use in this major is great experience. Testing, awesome experience because you're going to be testing if you're in pretty much any healthcare field. And then coding and transcription, which are can be um, harder things to learn. There is a little bit of a learning curve to it. And so having that opportunity to learn this now as an undergrad and get that really solid under your belt is going to make things so much easier when you start having to do language samples later on in life, if you do decide to go into speech language pathology. And of course, Preschool Project is what we do. So last semester, we were focusing on training for the language facilitation strategies, reading strategies, behavior management, things that you will need, not only for Preschool Project, but also just as a clinician in general, but also hopefully with COVID, everything will settle out and we'll be able to jump back in the fall. Of course, we don't know, but if you are not a senior, then that's great training for you guys when you begin Rosa Parks. But also all of these videos and scripts and crafts that we've been banking, we're going through and actually adding it to the curriculum so that future labs will be able and future labbers will be able to have that experience and see all of the training videos that you guys have helped put together, because realistically, they're not going to have the time to sit through an entire semester long training like you guys have. And so it's really nice that we have these 1 minute clips that we can put together to give them, a couple hours training beforehand so that they're feeling more prepared than people have in the past. But they also don't have to sit through, hours and hours and hours of training, because realistically, people don't usually have time for that. We're actually very, very fortunate to have this year of COVID to kind of get our lab to be the best that it can possibly be. And we're looking forward to continuing that this semester. And we know you guys are going to be able to provide great insight on how to improve. So going on with that, what you should be expecting this semester is a similar format to last semester. So pretty much every week, there will be a couple weeks where there won't be a weekly video for me, but pretty much every week there will be a weekly video. There will be small groups every week, just like last semester. They might last the full hour this semester, and I would expect them to, just because there's going to be more group work to do during that time. And then we're going to still have journal articles and short assignments like last semester. Other things to expect is that we will not be having small group meetings on the rest days. So for this semester, I know that they took away spring break, which is awful for you guys. And I'm so, so sorry that they did that. I think we all understand that they did it to keep all of us safe and prevent us from traveling for spring break during that extended time. But I also understand, as somebody who is from out of state, that it can be really challenging being far away from your family for that long if you are on campus. And it can also be really taxing for your mental health to just have one day sprinkled here and there versus having an actual set time to completely relax and rejuvenate. So I understand why the university made that decision, but I also really empathize with you guys. I'm a student as well, so me and your coaches really understand that
it's frustrating, and we absolutely will be adhering to the rest days. The 30th and 31st, there will be no small groups, there's no videos that week, no assignments that week. We want to make sure that you guys, for Preschool Project at least, can have a set week of nothing. So absolutely that will be happening. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, some weeks this semester there won't be a video, there may not be an article. And the reasoning for that is that we're going to kind of let you guys take the reins a little bit more so that you guys can get practice deep diving into topics that interest you and work on educating each other, and also learn how to do some research a little bit before you graduate, because that's really beneficial experience, I think. Again, there's not going to be face-to-face time. We were trying to see if we could work something out with the preschool where we could zoom in with the kids or the teachers. But unfortunately, that's just not going to be able to work. Hopefully, like I said, this summer or fall, with the vaccines going out and after the winter break travel numbers start going down, we'll see some improvement with COVID. But right now, just like with the rest of the world, we're just kind of taking it one day at a time. And right now, this is where we're at. But I hear you guys. I know you want more hands on experience, and I totally understand that. If I was in your shoes, I would want the same exact thing, because it can be frustrating to just hear the theoreticals and getting the training of, well, if this happened, what should you do? Versus actually experiencing that. And so, one thing that I've kind of taken away from my experience doing online training last spring when we switched online unexpectedly is we did a lot of Case videos to make up for our client contact hours. Case is basically this website where you can click on a client and they have all ages, all different diagnoses. And then you're able to practice either diagnosing, like assessing the client, or treating the client. And so you're able to get lots of information from that. And it's kind of an expensive program. So obviously, I'm not going to ask you all to sign up for it. If you do have it, that's great. And I encourage you to really lean on that. But I wanted to kind of mimic that as much as I possibly could. And so I found lots of videos of actual treatment sessions, actual assessment sessions, with kids of varying ages, with varying disorders, that we'll be able to use to kind of give you more practice of, okay, if you were the SLP, how would you score this child? What goals would you come up for this child? How would you implement them for this specific child? Not just theoretically. So there is more of a like right wrong answer. I understand that it's frustrating to have to like totally make up a case history. We have to do that for our classes a lot, where they'll be like, okay, make up a client and make up their results and make up what you would do to help them. And in your head, you're like, that's kind of hard, like how am I supposed to know how some theoretical person would perform? So hopefully this will help you get more experience of, okay, realistically, like here's a person, what data would you make for them? And so we're gonna have a lot of more experiences like that. We're also going to have a few weeks of journal clubs. And this I love. We've done this in a few of our classes, and it's always the most rewarding to me personally, because I feel like when a professor gives you an article to read, you just kind of like skim it, maybe just read the abstract to get like the main idea. And then the professor kind of explains everything to you in class. But in real life, if you're wanting to stay up to date on research, you're going to have to read those journal articles yourself. Like somebody's not going to explain it to you. And so this is going to be a really great way to not only build your knowledge of how to find, read, and report upon a journal article, but it's also going to allow you to learn about a huge variety of topics that other people in your small group are going to find. So I'm going to give kind of a broad, like this week we're going to be talking about research in bilingualism. And all of the people in the small group are going to be finding a journal article, researching, reading, making a short little write-up about it and presenting it to the small group. So you're going to be getting a lot of practice, not only for your own research, but also hearing about all these other articles that you haven't looked at. And that's always helped me the most is when a student is explaining it to me, and it always helps me like remember how to find and read journal articles, because sometimes you get used to just having them readily available to you in Canvas or Blackboard or wherever your professors are putting them up. And as a professional, I know that in order to stay up to date on things, I'm going to have to do my own research. And then also, we're going to be revamping Preschool Project for future semesters. So we're actually going to be pulling out my Google Drive that I have and getting all of our stuff that we've been using in the past and giving it to you guys. So once you guys have started doing that research for the journal clubs, there's actually a purpose for it. It's not just a waste of time, right? Like a assignment we're doing just to say that you did an assignment. You guys are actually going to be using the research that you and your peers find, and then you're going to be using that as reasoning for changing things about Preschool Project for the better. So if you see that we have a resource that we've been using that isn't reflecting current research, you guys are going to be able to make edits to that in the Google Drive, so that we're able to ensure that we are having best practice. And obviously that's really hard for just one person to do or two people to do. So Erin, who's one of the coaches, she's also the materials coordinator. And so she is in charge of, managing all the materials and making sure it's best practice. But think about it, that's a lot of materials for one person to go through. So this is really going to help out everybody involved, you guys in research and being able to apply that, which is really cool. You never get that experience in classes, but also for us, because that's just a huge overhaul for us to take on. And it seems really daunting, but if we can spread out that work instead of between 1 and 2 people to 40 people, that's just going to make things a lot more manageable, and it's going to give us more robust ideas, because when you collaborate, that's when you get the most benefit, I feel. So things that we expect from you is that you check your email weekly, and that all assignments should be turned in on time. We had a little bit of problem with this last semester. A lot of people catching up in the last couple weeks, turning in a bunch of missing assignments or making up for missed meetings. So just as a reminder, all assignments need to be turned in Friday before midnight. And this is just to make sure that there's an even playing field for everybody. If you do have a valid excuse, for example, we had a girl who had a concussion last semester, so she needed a few weeks of a break because her had a lot of sensitivity, and of course we understand that. And if you have a family issue or you're sick, especially if you have COVID, we definitely are sensitive to that, and we want to be able to be flexible with you. But you just need to keep us in the loop and let us know, so that we're not confused emailing you at the end of the semester like, hey, you missed 15 assignments. Can you please turn them in? Because we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then again, don't just skip small group meetings without a valid excuse. If you do have one, reach out to your coach, reach out to me, and totally fine. But we want to make sure that you guys are really getting the most of this experience, especially because small groups this semester are going to be more interactive with the journal clubs and collaborative work to kind of change the materials we have. We really need everybody there if they can be. And then finally, because it's going to be more collaborative this semester, we want to get a lot of participation. I know it can feel weird being in Zoom, and my cohort does the same thing sometimes where we're in class, all of us like mute and turn our cameras off, just because it feels kind of awkward, I guess. But because these are small groups and not bigger classes, please have sympathy for your poor coaches who sometimes have experienced, not a lot of participation, and then they feel a little like uncomfortable because they're like, I don't know what else to say. And just understand they're also students that are trying their best. So if we can just get a lot of participation, I think it's going to help your learning and the project in general, and just be a really great experience overall. But again, I'm really proud of what everybody did last semester, because that was the first time we've ever done an online format. And so for everybody, like me, the coaches, even the leadership team, we all were coming into this blind. And so we wanted to give you guys a lot of leniency because we needed leniency from you guys as well. And now that we have more of a like understanding and a flow of how things are going, we're like, okay, we're in this, we know what we're doing. And especially since you guys all participated in the fall, we know that you guys have gotten into the swing of things as well. So we just wanted to reiterate this now that things have kind of shaken out, because last semester we know definitely had some things to improve upon, and we definitely took your feedback into consideration when we were planning this semester. So a couple of the topics we're going to cover, I've kind of hinted on a little bit. So first, we're going to do next week just a really quick review on the language facilitation and reading strategies, just to refresh you, bring your brain back to Preschool Project and kind of ease into the semester a little bit. I know that it's easy to forget everything over break. I do it all the time. And then we're going to do a deeper dive into taking data. And then the week after, a deeper dive into reading, writing, and implementing goals. On the feedback forms that we got in the winter in December, the most common feedback point I got from, I would say 80% of people, was that they didn't feel prepared about taking data and the goals. They thought that those weeks were not as strong, and they felt like they needed more practice with it. And I agree. I think that it's really hard to just theoretically read and write goals and pretend to take data. I thought back to my experience in boot camp when I first started the program, and back to my undergrad experience because I had clinic in undergrad. And I remember that was the hardest thing for me, was learning how to take data in a constructive way and learning to read and write goals, but then also getting a goal and learning how to implement it. And I definitely have learned from my failures. I've had some really crappy goals in the past, and I've had some mishaps along the way now that I've been doing clinic for 4 years. So I wanted to share not only what I feel are successful goals with you, but also what I feel were my unsuccessful goals and my unsuccessful experiences implementing goals, because I feel like that is a way to help you guys kind of learn from my mistakes. So I am going to be sharing real data and real goals. Of course, taking away all identifying information, I will not be including any names, ages, or semesters. So this could have occurred anytime over the past 4 years. But I feel like it's going to be really beneficial to walk you through, like, okay, this is what I saw. This is what I wanted to focus on. So I wrote it into this goal, and then I decided to implement it by doing this. This is what I felt was successful. This is not successful. And this is how I changed for future clients. So I wanted to do that. And then also in those weeks, we're going to be watching a lot of videos together. So I'm going to watch a couple with you guys and take data in real time and be like, okay, this is what I saw. Go ahead and pause this video, watch the video on your own, take your own data, let me know what you saw. This is what I see, just to make sure that we're on the same page. And then we're going to be doing the same thing the next week, where I'm going to have you watch an assessment video and write down what you see, your data, and then you're going to take that data and be like, okay, I saw this in the video, this is the data I took, this is what we need to focus on. And you're going to look at all of my examples doing that and do your own. And so hopefully that's going to give you a deeper understanding of the process, and then also give you more of a real life simulation, because you're watching these real clients versus just in theory being like, okay, here's a little one sentence prompt, let me come up with a bunch of goals. Hopefully this will help you guys a little bit more. And of course, let me know as the week goes on if you guys need more support or less, or what you want, because I want to make sure that this is actually benefiting you guys, and not just busy work. So then we're going to have a couple weeks on dramatic play, which we hinted at last semester. It's a really, really great strategy to work on language. And then we're going to be talking about finding, reading, and discussing articles. We're going to have a whole week dedicated to how to do that. And then after that, you guys are going to be finding articles on your own for a few weeks. And in those weeks, I'm going to have some discussions on collaborating in the schools, preschool best practice, bilingual best practice, and then you guys are going to be able to supplement the information I give you with what you find. So I can share with you some resources I have, but I really want to be able to find even better resources if possible. And then you'll notice there's only 7 topics here, with each only having like a week or two. So there are going to be an extra, I think, 2 weeks at the end of the semester that I've left blank right now, because a lot of the feedback I got was, hey, I just want more information on data and goals. And so I really wanted to be able to leave space open for you guys to go through the semester, get a refresher on what we've talked about, get a better understanding of what you guys felt like you were lacking, and then dive into how you can do your own research. But then I wanted to leave a couple weeks of, hey, like I've done this research, I'm really interested in this, I want to know more about it. So as the semester goes on, please feel free to email me. Message on Slack is probably not the best way to reach me, honestly, but you can do that as well, and I'll get a notification. And just keep your coaches updated in a small group about something that's really interesting you guys, so that those last couple of weeks I can tailor it to what you guys want to learn about and what you guys feel like you have a gap in knowledge about, because I would love to be able to really help you guys learn what's going to benefit you. So a couple of assignments this week, nothing major, just because this is the intro. But do that beginning of semester survey. It really helped me to be able to look at the data from the beginning to the end of the semester in the fall, because I could see what areas you guys felt you improved, what areas you didn't feel as confident with. And then also being able to just see your headspace from the beginning to the end was really helpful. The semester availability form I've emailed, so make sure you check that email. And it's just letting me know when you're available for a small group. Again, I'll do the best I can to put you in your top choice, but we have to, work with coach availability and everything as well. And then anything that Sav has emailed out or that's in lab logistics that you haven't completed, please do so. Especially the city training. So since this is the beginning of the semester, this is probably when you're gonna have the most free time. You need to get that city training done. All of you guys are returners. You should have had it done in the fall. We absolutely, that is a requirement, and I will be checking in with you guys about that. If you are having any issues with it, let me know and we'll try to problem solve with you. And then finally, finish registering for credit if needed. So if you have not yet registered for credit, register for the 1 credit hour. Staff has emailed out the instructions, and I can forward it to you if you need to, if you need me to. And then if you signed up for 2, but you just wanted to do 1, email Raya today. And then if you want to just take it as a volunteer, just email me so that I have a list of who's taking it for credit and who's a volunteer. It just helps my brain. And at the end of the semester, it's really helpful as well for catching people up. So that is all I have for today. Hopefully this video was a good kind of ease into the semester. Not a ton of hefty information, just kind of an overview of what to expect. The course guidelines are going to be posted on Canvas if you want to look over those. I'll be posting a review next week of everything last semester, but if you want to look at anything before then, everything should still be up on Canvas under Preschool Project Fall 2020. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm so excited for this semester. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.